10 years ago, I was returning home from a road trip with 2 friends. I received a phone call from my parents asking when we would be arriving, and I explained that we were about 25 minutes away. About a minute later, we came around a bend. It was a full moon, and we could see the reflection from a lake below us, and other than that, the road was completely empty. Suddenly, everything went completely dark in the car. No lights from the dash, or gauges, or headlights on the road. The music also stopped, and restarted at the beginning of the CD we were listening to. There was now a vehicle pulled over by the police about 1/4 a mile in front of us that hadn't been there a split second before. I assumed I had dozed off for just a second as it was late. I thought it was still quite peculiar though. After about a minute, the driver of the car turned the music all the way down and said, "Did that just happen to anyone else?" The other passenger in the back seat sat forward abruptly and exclaimed, "I thought I just fell asleep." We then realized that the clock in the car was reading an hour later than it just had a minute before. To keep ourselves from freaking out, we decided that the car had possibly had a momentary electrical failure and reset the clock to an odd time, turned off the dash lights, headlights, and gauges, and restarted the CD player. But when we arrived home 25 minutes later, we were 1 hour late. I am still missing an hour of my life, and to this day have no idea what happened. I was walking home from work mid-December 2011. I remember wishing I had brought better shoes with me because I was slipping all over the place. Lots of snow and ice. Maybe 10 minutes from my house, I noticed that I could hear really, really heavy wind, but not feel it. My hair wasn't moving. The trees weren't moving, but I could hear this really strong wind rushing past my ears. In the sky, I saw a huge, dark rectangle with no distinctive lights or marks. It was just a solid rectangle. Huge. I don't know what the exact time was, but I finished work at 8 p.m. To get to the spot where I noticed the rectangle and weird symptoms would have taken me roughly 20 minutes, so I'd like to predict anywhere between 8:15 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. was when I saw it. Over to the left, I saw one single person, running in the opposite direction to me. I don't recall any screaming or anything like that. They were just running. I couldn't tell if they were looking at the rectangle. This is when I started to notice another odd sensation. I could feel my body laying down, but I was standing up. It's so hard to describe. I can't say it any better. I could feel a surface under my body, and I was laying down on it. But I could clearly see I was standing up, looking at this rectangle. I was free to move, but I didn't. I just stood and watched. Literally within the blink of an eye, I woke up sitting on a bench that was maybe a 30-second walk from where I stood, and watched the rectangle. The first thing I did was look up, and the sky was normal. I looked around. Nobody there. I checked the time, and it was 9:43 p.m. As soon as I got home, I looked in the mirror to check if I slipped on some ice, fell over, hit my head, and dreamed the whole thing. But I saw no marks and I had no pain. I've told my parents about this, who are convinced I'm either telling lies or I passed out and dreamed it. I have also told one friend who listened to the story and humors me, but I don't believe for a second he believes me. We had just recently moved into a new city and lived now in an apartment that had been recently renovated. It was a nice-looking apartment with a modern kitchen and new flooring. I think we had lived there for just about a couple of weeks when odd things started to happen at nights. I often heard someone walk in the apartment, just pacing around between kitchen and living room. At first I thought it was Mom, but Mom went to sleep usually early and rarely woke up at nights. I was afraid to stay up too late and often went to sleep covering my ears. As long as the sound was in the living room, I would be fine. Then one night, I was still reading a book in bed when the pacing started again. But this time, it was a bit more aggressive, almost like running. I lifted myself to sit up on my bed to listen better. Then I heard my mom's door open and shut with a bang. Was it Mom? Then the terrace door did the same. Slam. Bathroom door. And I knew my room was next. I was still expecting to see my mom looking for something. I saw my door's handle turn and the door opened wide open. Behind the door was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just the empty, dark corridor. Then the door slammed shut as well. And lastly, the outside door did the same. Nothing like that ever happened again in that apartment. I found out later that an old lady had passed away in this apartment before we had moved in. My spooky story is that I was coming back home with my brother from college. It was dark already at 7 p.m., so we took the bus. We were standing, talking all the way home till I saw my reflection on the bus door, but it was like half a second lagged. Like I saw myself rotating my head that direction, and I kept staring till it was normal. I guess that was my glitch in the matrix of the day. It was early 2000s. It was 3 a.m. and my house phone starts ringing. The phone was on the other side of the room. I stand up on the bed and start heading for the lower dresser to answer it, and my wife gets up to go get the phone as well. By this time, it is the third ring, and I remember thinking, crap, it's going to go to voicemail. The ringing stops. My cell phone starts ringing. I immediately change gears to someone really needs to get a hold of me. I grab my phone. Caller ID is 000-000-0000. I answer, hello? And a voice comes through the line as though it was a distant overseas call, parting through the static and asking, "Is this Joel?" To which I replied, "Yes, who is this?" Immediately, it was as though those words, "Is this Joel?" were being pulled back through the line, echoing in reverse. There was static and the call dropped. Jump forward several years. I'm installing a phone system that we're joking around is so advanced that we could place calls back in time. I punch in my old phone number and call it, realizing that the number is still active and my wife might answer. I hang up and call my now years old and retired phone number. Somebody answers. I freak out and ask, "Is this Joel?" The voice on the other end of the line answers, through space and time, "Yes, who is this?" At that instant, I immediately remember taking that call, and I am struck dumb. I cannot speak. Without thinking, I reflexively pressed the hang up button. I am now freaked out. I look over to my colleague, who isn't as freaked out as I am. From his perspective, I called a number, and someone with the same name answered. But he realized that was my voice on the other end of the line. I told him, "I got that call. It was 5 years ago, but I got that call." Then we both freaked out. I hit redial and get a message that that number is no longer in service. I call my home phone number back and my wife answers. I tell her I'm testing a phone system and ask if she had any previous calls. Nope, none. I'm kind of freaking out, but with her on speakerphone, I ask her, "Hey, do you remember that 3 a.m. phone call we got all those years back?" "Yes." Where I was asked, "Is this Joel?" And the line went dead? "Yes." I'm now just looking at my colleague, with my wife still on speakerphone. "Do you remember what year that was?" It was before we had kids, so it would have had to have been 2002 timeframe. I don't know how to say this. I'm pretty sure that was me that called. I had just turned 22, and my parents had sold their house and purchased a place out in the country. On the property, there was a big shed not far from the house that I decided to turn into my place. Now, I felt kind of uncomfortable in the shed sometimes, but my dog kept me company, so it wasn't so bad. Anyway, I had been in there maybe 2 weeks, and one night I'm on the computer, my dog asleep at my feet, and I need to pee, so I get up and go outside to piss. It's a beautiful clear night, and the stars were incredible. Next thing I hear, the shed door slam behind me. I turn immediately and try to open it, but it won't budge. Now from inside the shed, I can hear my dog start to growl, quietly at first, then louder. Now he's barking, and I'm panicking trying to get the door open. I must mention that I'm 6'5" and well built, play sports, etc. But even ramming my full weight into the door won't open it, and I'm really panicking now as my dog's barks turned into whines, then whimpering, then silence. And with all of my might, I slam into the door and it flies open. The light is off inside now and it's pitch black. It won't turn back on, and I'm in complete darkness. I can't see my dog anywhere, and I stumble around trying to find a torch. Finally, I find it and pick it up and turn on my torch, and I wasn't prepared for what I'd see next. My dog had literally squashed itself into the furthest, darkest corner of the room, eyes closed, and is shaking violently. I immediately moved towards him, and as soon as I got within reach of him, he leapt into my arms and wouldn't move. I picked him up, and I swear I've never ran so fast in my goddamn life. I never stepped foot in the shed ever again, and my dog wouldn't even go near that part of the property. I don't know what happened in that shed that night, but I'll never forget. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button for more content in the future.